Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm Rich Lyons. This is Living After Faith, Laugh. If you remember the last podcast, we talked about where I had been, the lows that I had experienced in life immediately post-Christian. And I promised you I would share with you where life is now. And the only way I can really adequately do that is introduce you to someone else, the lovely Deanna Joy Lyons. She is my wife. We just celebrated our 33rd anniversary.
Yep, that's right.
33 weeks. We got married on a Friday. Every Friday becomes an anniversary.
And Friday's a great day of the week anyways, because it's the last day of work for the week. We go celebrate.
First night of the weekend.
First night of the weekend.
So we celebrate our anniversary on Friday, every Friday, and we have a wonderful life together. Now, this lovely lady has known me in various stages of recovery, and most importantly, she knows me now, and she is the joy of my life. You've heard me mention this song in the past. I wanna live. That's Marilyn Manson. The name of the song, Long Hard Road Out of Hell. And if you study his background a little bit, he was raised in a very Pentecostal-esque grade school and junior high school, and it really marked him and made him a lot of who he is today. But if you listen to his lyrics in a lot of his songs say things that you may have faced and may be facing and trying to deal with. And what stirs me so much about that and did in the past is I want to live, I want to love. And one thing I knew when I was immediately post-Christian, it was hard to live. I just talked to a friend of mine. I asked him if he had listened to my podcast, and he said, Rich, right now I'm just living. And I totally understand that. He said, I wake up and I'm a zombie. I work and I'm a zombie. I go to sleep. And if you remember in the last podcast, I described that about me. He's going through some of the same things that I went through. So, Ed, this is for you. I want you to know there's life past where you are. There's a Deanna Joy out there, isn't that right?
That's right.
She is a very special person. Let's talk about our life just a little bit, because we promised that we would do that. It is a long, hard road out of hell, but when you get out, it's beautiful, and it's fun, and it's exciting. What's something we've done recently that you remember and think about?
Well, I think Friday night would have to be a huge part of that.
Celebrating the anniversary.
Oh, absolutely. We went out, we dressed up for Halloween. We were a little naughty, a little raunchy. We went to probably the most exciting gay bar on Capitol Hill. And what struck me about that is how in the past, in your Pentecostalism, even going to a place near the gayest part of the city would have been, look out, you're going to be tainted.
Yes.
But we had so much fun. Everybody was so welcoming. The costumes were amazing. The music was fun. There was dancing. We had a couple drinks. We had a couple good friends to hang out with. It was simple, but it was so much fun.
And you realize every single thing you mentioned that was fun was forbidden for me before.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have a couple drinks. I couldn't dance. I couldn't put on a costume. I couldn't go to that type of an environment. I couldn't go to a bar, gay bar much. No. So, and how am I doing this and being happy? The thing that makes me happy is I can do these things and do them without guilt, and most especially without fear. Yes. It takes a bit of time to get there, but the life that I used to have was so driven by fear.
Yeah.
You saw that.
I did.
What do you see now?
I see someone whose inhibitions have really just kind of fallen away. And it's sort of like a cocoon. You were caterpillared up and you were in this cocoon and you couldn't move and you couldn't do anything. And everything was just a very tight little trap. And little by little, layers have been falling off the outside of that cocoon, and then poof, here comes the butterfly.
I've never been called a butterfly before. But when she met me, I still had a lot of inhibitions, a lot of problems.
There was guilt. There was some fear. Definitely, yeah.
Now, Deanna has helped me a lot. She helped me become a skeptic. I was an atheist before she met me, but didn't really know much about the skeptical side of things and skeptic movement. And she's helped me a lot. The basic concept of skepticism is, unless you can show it to me that it works, I don't believe it. Is that right?
Pretty much, yeah. Evidence is of supreme importance, and that's a large part of how I came into my atheism. As a kid, I grew up, pretty much everybody went to church and believed in God. And I thought to myself, these people don't really believe, that they're going to get thrown into a fiery pit of torture and demons forever. I mean, nobody really believes this stuff, right? Well, sure enough, it turns out they do. And, my whole life I've always valued science. I've loved the cool, nerdy stuff. And what comes along with the love of science is a need for evidence. If somebody tells me I can psychically, choose the lottery numbers, I go, great, let's do a test. Show me, give me some evidence. Right. And as far as God or any other supernatural claims, the evidence just isn't there. And I did a lot of searching because I wanted to know, like, if this is so important, this is such a major concept. There's this dude up in the sky with a big long white beard, and he cares very, very much what you do with your genitals. I really need to know that this is true. I didn't paraphrase a little George Carlin there.
Exactly.
But I figured if it's so important, there must be great evidence for it. This is a huge concept, and it's just not there.
The two of us both have a Christian background, mine a bit more intense than Deanna's.
Very much so.
We came to atheism through totally different paths. Mine, as I mentioned before, was not really the skeptical path. Mine came because it was a heart thing. I could no longer believe in the character of God. I could no longer accept a God who would create the world as fucked up as it is, with disease and people who, just because of where they're born, are going to be tormented forever and ever. I could no longer accept that. So once I allowed myself to say it can't be, and then started examining it, then I came to the skeptical realization that, oh, wow, this is right. There can't be a God. I mean, there's no evidence. But she came from the skeptical, figured it out, and then it's later in life that you see the heart things, the suffering, those things.
Yes. It really started out from a lack of evidence and, this can't possibly be true. The claims are just too crazy. And, I've lived in an area, the general Seattle area, where when I was out in the suburbs growing up, it was like pretty much everybody went to church. But as soon as I came to the city, it was like religion's no longer an issue as much because people don't all go to church and they don't talk about God all the time and Jesus all the time. They are so chill about it. And so I never really thought about it, but I was just pretty much a casual atheist. I think if I had used a word, I would have said agnostic. I don't know, and neither do you, so whatever. But, it was through listening to the Skepticism podcast and learning about atheism, reading books and websites, that I realized that this is still a very important issue, and it was the heart issues, the recent suicides by gay teenagers in very rural, very, godly towns. This kind of bullying, this is the way this religion affects people's lives. So the heart issue did come later, and now I'm very passionate about my atheism, and I want everybody to see that life isn't horrible. Life is wonderful.
Let me ask, have you eaten any babies this week?
No, I have not. Surprisingly, I have not eaten any babies since I started using the word atheist.
Yeah. I love her. You see why. One of the things, people say atheists eat babies. We're evil people. We're wicked.
We worship the devil.
Oh, yeah. Which is so absurd. I don't believe in God. Why would I believe in a devil? I mean, it's two non-existent entities. I don't believe in either of them. And the fact that they don't exist is a very nice, peaceful place for me to live my life. At first, it was frightening to think that when I die, I simply don't exist. And then I reached a place that I realized it's actually a plus, not a minus, because I don't have to be within whatever realm of or guidelines there are for life by some supernatural, spiritual. I don't have to measure up to that. But even more than that, what I found in my life as a Christian, and you may relate to this, is I lived within a shell. I really didn't value life as it was, because my mind was always on that, in the great hereafter, it'll all be wonderful, and all I should really do is just get to there, and then everything's going to be great. Now I have a different view on life. The fact that I can look at life and say, when it's over, then I have to live now and in the now. And that totally changed a lot of who I am. For instance, this past weekend, we went to a club, and we get there and we walk in. The guy says, we're closed, and there's water dripping all over the place. We say, why? He says, fire upstairs. We look out, sure enough. So we decide, okay, what are we going to do? And about that time, a bus comes up, and it has, what city? No,
Georgetown.
Has Georgetown on it. And said, what's in Georgetown? Anything good? She says, yeah, why? I said, let's go. We jump on the bus. And there we are, headed off to Georgetown. I don't even know what's in Georgetown.
Sure enough, we start thinking, because we have a little bit of a time before we get there on the bus. And thank goodness for internet on the phone, because I started looking up the hours of, there was a place that Rich had been wanting to go. And it was kind of a surprise, actually, when we hopped off the bus and we were right in front of Full Throttle Bottles, a store that carries like every kind of awesome beer and wine and cider and that you can imagine.
Yeah.
And there's a T-shirt that they've been advertising. So first thing, we jump off the bus and I go, check it out, they're open. And we go in and we get this T-shirt that Rich wanted.
Yes.
And then we go down the street to Smarty Pants, which is a great little like motorcycle themed cafe, and had a couple of really good IPAs, and sat and tried to figure out what we were going to do for the rest of the night, and chatted and
had good food. Met some people.
Food.
When you realize I've got right now, and decide to make right now as beautiful as you can, and you've got someone with you, especially who has, if you don't have someone with you, this actually works. I am the great dating advisor right here, okay? I know nothing about dating. But here's what I did find out. When I had a situation where I got sick, and to recover, I started walking the streets of Seattle, and I took my camera with me and took pictures and videos of everything I saw and posted them on Facebook. And people said, wow, you have so much fun in life. And everybody all of a sudden wanted to be Rich's friend. And Rich is like, well, I just take pictures of what I do, But I realized I am out there. I'm doing things. I'm having fun. Adopt the Deanna Joy Rich Lyons style of living is, this minute is my minute, and I am going to enjoy this minute. Adopt that way of living, and you know what? People will want to be with you. I hear people, one of the things that people say to me when I take a picture and put it, I have seen this response more than any other, is, I want your life.
Yeah.
Some of my Christian friends would be, he needs to get a life. But I have a lovely life. Life is wonderful, and it's fun, and it's exciting. I wake up wondering what adventures the day holds.
It's wonderful.
And I know that the only way the day is going to hold any adventure at all is for me to go out there and find it. We have a concept that we live by, and that concept is simply this: do it. Go out. Have fun. In my old apartment, I decorated. Everything was black or white. And if you were in the Christian realm, you probably know everything's either good or bad, right, wrong, blah, 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 blah. And I decorated my apartment. There's still lingering pieces of that around. Everything was black or white. And the reason was, go out where the colors are. And that was physically true. I didn't like the black and white, but that physically was true. Go out where the colors are. But I was actually talking to my inner man, saying, don't be so black and white. Go out where the colors are, where there's beauty, where there's a spectrum to observe and to participate in and to be a part of. And life is so good to be actively taking charge of today, because it's what we've got.
Yes. We have so much fun together, and most of the time when we go out adventuring, we have a vague idea of what we're going to do. And how many times do we ever follow the plan, And I'll say, okay, we want to go to this place and pick up something there, and maybe go have a drink over here and get some lunch, and go see the Pike Place Market, and then we end up not doing any of the things that we planned on doing, but we're having a wonderful time. I don't feel like we're forcing ourselves to adventure, because, I don't want people to think this is we're rushing and hurrying and the pressure is on to have as much fun as possible. No, it's very chill.
It's very chill and laid back. But one thing I will say here, if you're in that place where I've got a friend who is, if you're in that place where I was, there is a time of healing. There is a time that you have to be that zombie, and I'm sorry you do. I don't know. Maybe someone out there knows more than I do and knows how to get around that. I don't. I had to go through it. I was the zombie, just dead. I want to live. I want to love, but it's a long, hard road out of hell. I couldn't find love. I couldn't find life. And I was so deep in hell, I couldn't. And it was my own personal hell. There is no real hell, but it was what had been created within me. And the only way I got through that is it took time. But there comes a time when you got to say, I got to get out. I've got to force myself. I want to stay cloistered in. It's safe here, but I'm dying here. And that's when you have to go out and you have to live. My coming to that place was on the Aurora Bridge. For those of you who don't know, it's the second leading bridge in the nation that people jump off of to kill themselves. Every weekend they close off lanes of it because they're building a suicide-proof fence on this bridge. But there's none there now, and there was certainly none there then. And on my way to work one day, I pulled off to the side of the road, walked out on the bridge, and was totally intent on ending my life there, and had a moment of discovery. But that moment of discovery led me to walk off the bridge. I couldn't take my own life because when I looked at my phone, just simply to check what time it was, habit, there was the picture of my daughter. And all of a sudden I heard the voices of those around her saying, never leave the church because this is what will happen to you. And I realized I would be the force that locked her in bondage for the rest of her life, and I couldn't be that person. So I decided that I couldn't die. And it was in the process of walking off the bridge back to the car that I thought, and I remember thinking these very words, if I can't die, then I've got to learn how to live, because this doesn't work for me. I'm not saying you should attempt suicide. I don't want you to do that at all. But there comes a point where you have to make the decision. I'm not going to die, so I better learn how to live. And I encourage you to take yourself to that place.
I think I first met you very soon after that period.
Yes.
It seemed like you were still trying to climb out of this hole of depression. And one of the things that struck me is when we first met, we'd known each other a little on the phone, and I'd seen like your Facebook posts of pictures, some pretty sunsets and stuff. And I thought, boy, this guy takes great pictures and he seems to be enjoying himself. And then when I met you and we sat down and CD diner and had a beer at like 6 a.m. after I got off of work, and I could still see, you were describing to me, because we had our atheism in common, where you had been before and where you were coming out. And I mean, that was, for goodness sake, less than a year ago. And, I could see that you were struggling with this pain, that you had been through that long, hard road out of hell, but you were trying to enjoy it. And we started going on adventures together, and it just silly things like, let's go ride a ferry and go wander through the Pike Place Market, go play tourist in our own town. And your determination to have all that fun and to experience life, to get out and go wander around and adventure in it, really brought me out of a place where I was feeling my life was stagnant. I was, just sitting around watching TV doing nothing. And I wanted to be out there. I wanted to go do things. And you brought your joy to me, despite the fact that you were still working through all this pain. And, that really impressed me, that determination to get out of that. You really changed and made my life wonderful and fun and adventureful too.
And it is fun. We're going to talk more about this. I love and adore this woman, and she's going to be a part of what we're doing here on Living After Faith. Deanna, you mentioned that you saw me coming, struggling, fighting. One of the things that I struggled with, we're going to use a bad word here, a word that you're not allowed to mention, sex.
Yes.
There were problems there.
There were definitely a lot of things that it's hard to describe.
Religion twists you sexually. Deanna alluded earlier to it, this big guy with a long white beard who is intimately concerned with how you use your genitals. And next podcast, we're going to talk about how sex gets messed up through Christianity, through religion, and we're even going to talk about how you can get over it. And I am going to try so hard not to gloat.
It's all right, darling. You can gloat a little.
I'm Rich Lyons.
I'm Deanna Joy Lyons.
We're Living After Faith. Come laugh with us.